Hi there. Well, I'm glad to be back with you, and I wanted to show you some improvements and to give you a free pattern for a size 10 moccasin. And what I've done is I've measured out the shape of an average foot based on a size 10, that is 10 inches in length and 4 inches in width. Now this pattern will fit plus or minus about 1/4 of an inch in length. So you don't have to be exactly 10 inches in order for this to fit. So it does suit a wider range of feet sizes. Now over the years I've collected many different sizes and shapes of feet, and there is no such thing as a normal foot. Okay, everybody's feet are a little bit different, so you don't have to think that your foot is an unusual one, because there is no such thing as a normal one. So what I'm going to do is to draw this size 10 out, and what I've done, I've got in some graph paper, and this is what it looks like, and it's a Hillary 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch to a 1 inch, or 4 quarters to a 1 inch sheet. And I've pasted 4 of them, or I've taped 4 of them together to make it bigger so that it'll fit the size of the moccasin that I'm making. What we're going to do is start off just the same as every other one with our foot measurement. And I should just explain a little bit about this grid that you see here. Up in the left hand corner I've started the very first square, which on the vertical is alphabets and on the horizontal is numbers. So on the top left hand corner it's square A1, and then it would be B1, C1, D1. You can't see that, but you can see it down here. Okay, so A, B, C, D, and it goes all the way to Z, which is Z1. Okay, and then it starts at A2, and the next 26 letters are in the 2 section, and then there's a couple left over in the D section, in the 3 section, and then the number of the horizontal lines are over here and over here. So if I ever mention go to 2M37, you should be able to find that. But if you make up your own graph paper like this, I will post a photo of this when we're finished, so you will be able to draw out the exact same pattern as what I'm using here. And if you want to, then you can make adjustments to the sizes. But the original version 1 of the moccasin pattern has had a number of changes, and I thought it would be a good time to update it. So with that, let's get started. We've got the outline of the foot that we're going to be using, and so I'm just going to set it down like so. Okay, now with that, I'm going to be drawing the outline of the foot. Now I'm just going to take a moment here and adjust the camera just a little bit. Okay, so there's our foot. Let me just check and make sure that we're going to be going straight up and down. Okay, something like that. And I'll just put a weight on that. Okay, now the pen that I'm going to be using is a erasable pen, and it also comes off with heat, but it is a very good pen because you can erase it. And with this first drawing of the foot outline, we will have to be moving it in order to accomplish what we need to be doing, so it is going to be erased. So I'm just going to draw the outline. Okay, and that is how we get started. The next thing we need to do is to add our toe allowance. Now the toe allowance ends up to be the vertical part of the moccasin. And for this moccasin, I've allowed 1 5/8 inches. Okay, I'm losing my battery, so I'll have to change it, and then I'll be right back. Okay, now as I was saying, I've allowed 1 5/8 of an inch for the toe allowance, and with that I go around the top, starting like this. And once we start going inwards, that's when we stop. Okay, and there we've started to go in. Okay, then the next thing we do is to draw a vertical line coming straight down. And we do that on each side. Okay, so now we've got our toe allowance. Now, this is the reason that we left the foot pattern, so that we can erase it. And I'll show you why that is. Because of the outside diameter of our foot is bigger than the inside, our centers are not going to be in the right spot. So what I do is to measure from one side to the other. Okay, I'm looking at about 183 mils, or 7 3/16. So that's 3.5 plus say 1/16. 3.5 plus 1/16 and a little bit more. So if I move our foot right to that spot, it should be just right. Then what I do is I've got a hole punched in here for our center mark. I guess I should have drawn that in while I was drawing. Now I just take something a little pointy and put it through that hole and put it in the center of that mark. Then I take our bottom and adjust it so that the heel is in the middle of our new mark. So you can see how that has been adjusted slightly to the left. And now I'm going to draw a new foot. And now that I'm thinking of it, because this one is permanent, I'm going to draw it with a Sharpie. Okay, now we know which one is our proper pattern. Okay. Oh, I'm having trouble with this battery again. I guess these batteries, they aren't very good. Okay, well, I'll change the battery again and we'll be right back. Okay, so it says we've got a nice new battery in there. Whoops. Now I'm going to erase our old line, and with that I can just do it with this wood burning tool. It erases the lines very well. I use this on fabric and other things as well. It certainly does good. And also I'm going to just kind of knock the tops of these lines off. Okay. Now we've got our pattern adjusted over to the left. The next thing that we have to do is to find our center line in our foot here. Okay, so we got a 10-inch foot, so our center is going to be 5, and we can just follow along that line there to get our halfway point. Okay, so that line is at 5 inches. Okay, now what we are going to do next is to put on some allowance for our seam. Okay, now this part is going to get folded over and glued down so that it gives us some strength along the edge and that it covers up this raw edge of the leather. So with that, we start up at the top again. Okay, so there's our seam allowance. Now we're going to jump up to form our ankle. Okay, so we got to get up in the air here. And to do that, we take a 60-degree angle, and we can put it on the first line here. Okay, so it's going to run straight up and down here. And we'll take it right out to the edge of the paper. Now this line will depend on the height, going to be dependent on the height of your moccasin. Okay, and then with that we need a 1/2 inch allowance here as well. Okay, now we have to flip it over. And then there's our 1/2 inch allowance. Now, okay, looks like I don't have it quite in center, but we'll make adjustments for our height later. Okay, now the next thing that needs to be done is we're not going to just jump up like that. We have to transition it into a smooth circle. So I used to use something a lot smaller than this. I used to use a protractor to make that circle, and I found that that didn't allow enough fabric. Like, I used to put that in, and that didn't allow enough fabric to come up and over top of your foot. By using this, that is going to give you lots of fabric, that it's not going to interfere with the top of your foot at all. Okay, and the same with this one. So that's actually going to be our cutout mark right there. Now we have to go and determine what our height is going to be. And because we used graph paper here and not a regular sheet of paper, we're a little bit constrained for height. Usually I go up about 3 inches from the toe allowance line. But in this case, why don't we just do 2 3/4 inches? That's right to the edge of that line. So 2 3/4, go all the way down to the bottom. And 2 3/4. Okay, so we know it's right on that line. Then the same thing over here. I find that ladies' moccasins are somewhat lower than men's. Okay, 2 3/4. Yes. See, now here's where that heat gun comes in real nice and handy when you make a mistake. It's pretty easy to get rid of them. Sorry for the bouncing. Okay, and then go all the way to the top. And same on this side. Okay. Now what we need to do is from the center of the heel, we need to measure to the back. Okay, you can't quite see it, but I'll tell you what it is. And it is 3 3/8. Okay, so if we go over here and we go up 3 3/8 and put our line there. Same over here. Then we should have a line that goes straight across behind the heel. And if it doesn't, make it so that it is. Okay, that's looking pretty good there. So it just touches the back of the heel. And we'll draw a line straight across. Then what we want to do is to measure 1 inch down. In version 1, I did a calculation here, so it was dependent on the size of the moccasin. And that was a lot of math that could cause a person to make a mistake. And I found that if you add 1 inch to the bottom, that's going to be lots to give you some room for the ankle. So this ruler is 1 inch. So you just touch the back like that. We'll go 1 inch this way. One inch this way. Okay, then we've got our center there. Here's the center of the heel. And we go 1 inch over. Put a mark and 1 inch the other way. And then the same thing over here. 1 inch and 1 inch. And draw a line straight down. Okay, now we need our protractor. Okay, now for me, I've got this little one. A bigger one would be nice, but you put it right on this bottom right hand corner and then on the bottom left hand corner. Okay. And what I found works best is 15 degrees. Okay, so here we're on the 0 mark. There's 10 degrees, 20 degrees, and if we put it on 15 degrees, that's going to be just right. And I'll show you how we use that. Okay, 10 degrees, 20, and there's 15 right there. Then you take your ruler or straight edge and you touch that corner of the box and you come right up to that line, and that's going to be a cut line for your fabric or for your leather. Okay, so there's our cut line. Now when we go to put the insulation in and the lining, I want you to give yourself about 3/8 of an inch back here for sewing. Okay, so this will kind of be an allowance. If you're going to put insulation, this is where it would end. So insulation. End. And this is just a ballpark measurement. Okay, again, and this is the insulation. Okay, now this one here is 15 degrees. 15 degrees. And we have finished the moccasin now. Now what we would do is go and cut it out, and we would fold back our hem and glue it down. I found that using a glue stick works very well, because you glue it down, get some clips to hold it, and it'll be just fine. And then we're going to use this as a pattern, of course, for our cutout. And this one here is 10 inches. 10 inches width or length. And 4-inch width. And that's about it. So if you followed these lines here, followed the side square numbers, you should it should work out just fine for you. When it comes time to cut your liner, which I found bridal satin, if you can believe it, get the thickest possible. Bridal satin is the toughest stuff that you can buy for a lining inside of the moccasin. And then whatever you want it to do for the insulation, a thin wool or polyester, whatever. So what I do is I put the layers on, and then I take and I sew around the foot first, and then I work my way out from there. I'll show you that when the time comes, though. I'm just going to end it here, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to set it up to make the toe. Okay, so we've got the basic outline of the pattern, and now I'm going to do the toe. Hi there. Okay, well, I've done a little bit more here. What I've done is I've cut out the pattern for the sole and sides of the moccasin. I've added a little bit of documentation here in that you're to fold over and glue down this 1/2-inch strip around the top, and that includes going up the sides here. I didn't draw it in the first time that I made it, or the first time that I showed it, but this also gets glued down right up to the height of the ankle. Okay, a glue stick works good with that, and our height for our height on the ankles is 2 3/4 inches. And this is version 2, and it's for size 10, and it's with my new name of my new company, Canada Worm. Okay, so now we need a top to go with the bottom here. Okay, so I'm going to take our original size 10 foot outline, and I'm going to put it on another piece of the same drafting paper or graph paper that we used the first time. And I'm going to put it up here. And I'm just going to set it down. And this is going to be a permanent one, so it can stay just exactly where it is sitting. I'll put a weight on it just to help it stay where it's supposed to. I should have done something a little different here, but it'll work out fine. Okay, so there's the outline for our foot, and here is that half-inch seam allowance that we were using previously. Now, what I want to do is, after I put this ruler marks on the sides, and they should go down to about 2 inches below the heel. Okay, so I'm going to put that, and we'll go down about 2 inches below the heel, and that will be plenty far enough to go up the side or the front of the height of the moccasin for the moccasin tongue. Okay, and then we'll just measure 2 inches. And that'll give us, we'll say this line right here. So you'll be able to cut it off at that distance. That's purely arbitrary, and you can make it whatever length you want. Okay, now we take our half-inch seam allowance. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that the tongue is smaller than the sole of the moccasin. In other words, when we cut the tongue out and we were to lay it on top of the moccasin, of the sole of the moccasin, the tongue has to be narrower width, and it'll be longer because it goes up here, but we want to start the toe in back from the sole. So what I want you to do is to take your half-inch seam allowance, and instead of going on the outside, I want you to go, oh, I was going to say about in the middle, and that would be fine. But you know what I'm going to do? I'll get a smaller one, and we'll do it on the inside of the moccasin. Okay, here's a nice small one. Maybe, I don't know what it is, 1/4 of an inch. It should be just about right then. Okay, so we're going to put this on the inside. And we'll start right on this side over here. And this side. And we'll take our square and we're going to go down that distance now. So this is going to be the actual width of our material. And then we will be adding, then we'll be adding the half-inch seam allowance around on the outside, which will make this make it in the middle. Okay, so let me put a few more marks on here. Okay. Now I'll take the 1/2 inch and lay it down here. And this is where the moccasin leather will be cut out of. Okay, so this is going to be our cut line. Is this one right on the furthest outside, and it will, once it's cut out, it will then get folded over, and that'll make it smaller than the sole. Okay, and this will be our fold line. Okay, if you do have to make some cuts so that it folds over nicely, that's just fine. That way you're going to have a nice smooth edge. And that will happen all the way around. Okay, so again, this is our cut line. And this one here is our fold line. So you can see how we're curved up at the top, and then our sides go perfectly straight all the way down to the bottom. I used to make the sides flare out when we came towards the top, but that made it difficult for the tongues to fit inside the moccasin sides. So now what's going to happen is that this is going to be sitting on top of this, and when you stitch up the sides, it's going to be sitting something like this. And let's just see if I can pull away a little bit here. Okay, so we're going to stitch up the back, and then the tongue will be sitting in here. And a lot of times if you flare the tongue out, the tongue is going to come up here and is going to be sitting wider than the tops of the moccasins here. By making it straight, the moccasins can come up nicely and fit inside the top of the ankle. So that's the reason of making it straight and not flaring it out. And that's going to give it a nice curve inside here, and it works much better than the way that I had it before with the flare on the end. So I'm going to take some pictures, which I'll include in the package, and you can just use that as your guide for cutting out the material and everything. If you wanted to use denim, to try it out for a practice. That would be the thing to do. And so I wish you all the best, and be sure to email me if you have any questions. But other than that, Canada Warm is trying to help everybody make some moccasins to keep your feet warm. Okay, you have a good evening, and we'll talk to you again later.